When people speak of the environment and of global warming, it is so often that grandiose topics are addressed, but the very basics are often left unaddressed. It is frequent that you fail to address simple issues that have major impacts. Recycling, refuse, garbage, trash. These words are not words that people think about when they're thinking about global warming and huge environmental impacts. Sometimes recycling is addressed a little, but it is a major issue because your attempts at recycling are really created to fail. Not because people wish to see recycling fail, but because recycling was initiated not for the environment originally, but more so for economics. And because of this, the focus on recycling has centered around economic issues. What this has done is create a Frankenstein that cannot succeed. For instance, styrofoam can be recycled, but it is not recycled because it is often thought that it is not profitable to do so. Styrofoam takes up a great deal of space for its little bit of weight. And how would you store such? Of course, the solution is simple. There should not necessarily need to be storage. Rather, there would be a chemical agent to simply break down styrofoam so you could resynthesize it and reuse it. And by doing this, the storage issue would become a moot point. But this goes to another issue of recycling. For you have light plastics also falling into this same area where weight is an issue, so they are collected separately, if collected at all. What does this create? This creates a divided system when the system needs to be unified. And there are also issues of how you actually ship and store things, and how you market and package items. For instance, the beer industry has realized that it can use the plant fibers to create the very cartons or containers that the beer will be placed in to hold the bottles or the cans. And this does away with the plastic that has created so much problem in the oceans. But this has not been applied across the board to other things such as sodas or to other things that you would buy and carry in plastic cartons. But many of these things can be placed in paper or plant materials. And plant materials can be dissolvable. Now you're using plant materials, some for forks and knives and disposable utensils. But there are many of these things, when you do them properly, that can be economical. But that only does away with part of your recycling problem. You still have this whole area of what will you do to recycle it. Of course, glass is simple, but plastics and the fact that they are mixed, and recycle centers, oh, what do? They want you to separate things, but by the time you do, you've spent more energy separating different things one at a time, and done more environmental damage possibly with the usage of other agents, removing papers and removing stickers, when this should be done at a point of collection where everything would be allowed to go through, where your different things may be sorted before they get there. When they are picked up even, you may have your papers and your plastics separated, but then your plastics, your glass, would each go through a bath or an appropriate assembly line, so to speak, where the issues that are expensive, tiresome, and troublesome to the environment when done individually can be addressed as part of the actual processing of these items. So, since you have chosen to make recycling a for-profit venture, then this would be more profitable, but you still run into the issue when you are looking at a for-profit venture of, oh, this clump of recyclables isn't worth as much as this clump. So we will recycle this clump and put this clump in the trash heap because it's less expensive and we make money. But this is not the point of recycling. Recycling is about the environment. It is not about the money made individually, but about the value that is gained collectively as a people. This means that since you are actually investing in saving your environment, which will ultimately create better health and will ultimately create a more sound economy, that it is in the best interest of peoples of the world and of the governments to actually partake in and even subsidize recycling if need be to make it individually profitable for a company here or there. Or perhaps you may wish to forget profit and simply do it as a government agency because the recycling is ultimately beneficial and cost effective for the world and environment as a whole. And you must look at this as a part of your holistic investment in your earth. Now, it is important when you think of this that you would also, whether of conscience, for financial reason, or by governmental regulations, rules, and laws, eliminate or cut back on excessive packaging, to cut back on unnecessary shipping materials. Use natural shipping materials where such can be used. It is possible, for instance, to use at times a bamboo or corrugated sawdust rather than other packing materials. The whole point is that if you use something that is part of the natural environment, it may have a quicker expiration. But if you're using it to ship items that only last a limited time anyway, then what is the difference? You do not need to ship an egg that you can store for a year, little longer if you know how, in a styrofoam carton that will last 10,000 years. You do not need to put a candy bar that will last a month, maybe 6 if you do not mind eating stale chocolate, in a plastic wrapper that will last 10 years, even if it's biodegradable. There has to be some common sense applied in order to cut back on the necessity of recycling. It also is most beneficial if those who are simply filling landfills would think about what they do with their scraps. Their edible scraps may not be something that as individuals they wish to eat, but they may be something that can still be composted for a vegetable garden, a flower garden, or even for a few flower pots on the terrace. The whole issue then becomes not just what the individual does, but what the collective does. And what you do then is reflected in what businesses will do. Because as an individual, if you say you will buy that which is packaged in a way that creates less waste, companies will sell in a way that creates less waste. Ultimately, this will save the company money as well. There may be an upfront investment as changes are made to allow these new forms of packaging and shipping to take hold. But once they are implemented, in the long term they are just as effective and efficient, and in many ways more so. So, when you think about saving the environment, but you stand in front of a trash can and you are holding several items and you go, part of this item is trash and it is made where I can't separate it, and part of this item is marked recycling, but I can't get the trash part away from it. What do I do with it? If I put it in the trash can, I am throwing away recyclable goods. If I put it in the recycle bin, I have just made a whole bundle of recycle worth less value, and it will be sent off to a dump site. So where is it possible? How is it possible? Well, It is certainly possible, but it has to be done each step of the way. Where is it possible? It is possible everywhere. How is it possible? By regulations from the top down and concern from the bottom up. This is how you achieve. We leave you with blessings and with peace. Take care of your world, for it is the only one you will get.